Yeah.
We are live. Apparently, Remove Disc has already given Decider12 a +1 for tonight, which is going to be totally useless. So, yeah, that's a thing. Welcome, everybody, to Tales from the Tavern. I am Luna, and we have a super great group of people here tonight. Some familiar faces, some that are brand new to the channel. So we're going to go around real quick and do a quick series of introductions. Decider12, let's start with you.
Oh, so special. Thank you. Hello, I'm Decider12, or David. You might recognize me from a couple shows on this channel, one of them being Tabletop Tavern on Sundays, where I play the role of Davdathos, and Wednesdays for Tabletop Tavern 2, where I am the lovely game master. And I say lovely in a sparing way. But yeah, and I also do my own streaming at twitch.tv/Decider12. And yeah, I'm happy to be here for tonight.
Very nice. Thanks so much for jumping on with us tonight. It's been a while since we've gotten to have you. So
last time I was here, there was a different host. So.
It's true. It's true. I'm a lot nicer.
You are. I agree.
And suddenly our show's been canceled. Weird.
That's so weird. Someone pulled the plug.
Vero, let's go to you next.
Hi, I'm Vero. I play Anastasia in the Discount Dungeons podcast. If you've seen it, episode 1, the first thing that happens is my girlfriend yells at me because I'm wearing this, so I thought I would give it all to you.
And we greatly appreciate your willingness to share that experience with us. So, no, awesome. I'm super glad that you're here tonight. Thanks so much for joining in. Amanda. Yeah. MandaManda.
Hi, I'm Amanda, also known as MandaManda. I'm a member of the Howie Nerd community, moderator, and cast member on Tabletop Tavern 2 on Wednesday nights. And I've been playing tabletop RPGs for about 9 years, and it's one of my favorite hobbies.
Heck yeah.
Yay. I know, and we're super excited that you get to be here tonight. I'm very happy that you get to join us. So,
we forgot to tell you, we have to cancel your appearance on the show, by the way, again. So.
Oh, okay. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye. That's so funny.
And then we lose half the viewers. They were only here for her.
Yes, and Ben or Lawful, whichever you would like us to call you.
Either way is fine. Hey, I'm Benjamin. I am the Dungeon Master for LawfulGreatAdventures, a tabletop podcast using Pathfinder. We've been on the scene for a very short amount of time, so I am just psyched to be a part of this. And one of my favorite things to do is talk about tabletop RPGs with other experienced players. So this is, I'm just beside myself with joy. I am just absolutely giddy with anticipation.
Oh,
we were very worried that he was going to end up with speeding tickets driving home to get here. So
yeah, I'm still a little out of breath from getting in from work. I'm a last minute replacement.
But we were very glad that it worked out, and thanks so much for being here. I know, right? And let's round it off with Matt.
Hi everyone, I'm Matt. I run a podcast called the VerbalComponents podcast with one of my good friends, Evan. We've not been in the space for too long. We've only been a podcast now for probably going on 6 weeks. I've been playing D&D for about 4.5, coming up on 5 years now. And that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here. I got to check out the last episode of your podcast. I listened to it yesterday while I was working, and I was like, "This is really entertaining." I really liked it. So
I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
validation for the crazy stuff him and I just get talking about in a 45-minute episode about D&D.
Isn't that the best? It's like validation. You're doing this thing with your friend. You throw it out there, and you're like, gee, I don't know if anyone cares. And then they're like, oh man, I listen to your show. I like it. And you're just like,
I'm like, oh, okay. We're funny. Nice.
You listen to my show. You what?
As long as you're having a good time, people will enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think too, is like, as long as you're being, yourself and enjoying it. Him and I have a fun time, whether or not people listen, but the community has been amazing to us so far, since we are pretty new in the space. So we appreciate all you guys as well. So
that's the biggest thing that we've always said here on our channel, is that just the TTRPG community, like streaming, the podcasting, all of it is just amazing.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I walked into this just kind of expecting me and my friends, we'd make the thing and it just but it's certainly blown up way more than I expected, and it's actually kind of inspired me to kind of dip my toes back into some hobbies. Like I used to do some audio work, used to do some voice acting, and working on this podcast again has kind of got me being like kind of into it again.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And I think that would not have been if we didn't have all this wonderful community that's kind of so encouraging.
Definitely.
And great on giving feedback and bringing in, new people. So it's wonderful.
Yeah. So I did say that there was already a question in chat. So I will go ahead. He spent channel points to highlight it and everything. No, actually, let's see. So the question came from Removed Disc. And he would like to know, he says, let's start it off with a good question. Please ask them what their favorite number between 1 and 20 is.
Oh, God.
For no reason whatsoever, right?
For no reason whatsoever. He also, there's no reason he wants to know this. He does not track statistics for any of our games at all whatsoever.
No.
Okay.
Who wants to go first?
Oh, I feel like there's an obvious answer here, but I don't want to say it.
I'll take it. I'm torn between 3 different numbers. Well, 12 because Decider12, 1 because it's hilarious, and 20 because it feels good.
Yeah.
There's the gamut. There's the spectrum.
You've inspired me. I say 1. The failures are even
hilarious.
Yeah, the failures get really funny at times.
You're just like, all right, I'm gonna strike this guy with confidence, and I rolled a 1. So
no, the best ones are crit fails that change the story.
Yeah, those are good. I like those.
Or like the entire course of combat, well, that leads right into this question that just came in from, let's see, is it Bestie Boo?
Bestie Boo.
The funniest critical fail. Decider. Would you like to share the story?
You already know why I'm laughing, because
I do know why you're laughing.
In Tabletop Tavern 1, we were facing a boss, I would say. And, he rolled up to us all confident. He was about to smash someone's face. He rolls a 1 on his attack. And we use fumble tables in Tabletop Tavern. And the fumble table said that he punched himself in the groin. So this guy walks right up to us and just punches himself in the crotch. And after that, nothing went good for him. We critted him like 3 more times. His allied goblins were crit failing as well and hitting him, and he went down without doing a single thing to us. So
oh my God.
And not only did he punch himself in the groin, it caused him to move at half speed for like 1d4 rounds. So
oh God. He never got to move after that.
He never got to go anywhere.
Yeah,
like, can you imagine this?
About right.
This strong guy just walks up to you, he's like, I'm gonna crush you, punches himself in the groin, and then he's just sitting there like, oh, and then as we pummel him to death. So good times.
Man, I had something similar happen in mine, but it's not nearly as good as that. So I was DMing an introduction game for a bunch of my friends that a lot of them hadn't played D&D before, and I was playing the Forbidden Edition that nobody loves, but I don't care. You can fight me. I'll throw hands. I love 4th edition, and I just heard everybody scream at me. I don't care. Shut up.
I definitely cringed. So
yes,
yeah,
exactly.
I got your back, buddy. I got you.
So, but I was introducing a whole bunch of people through 4th edition, and I made my own house rules because I wanted to have crit fails. I think they're great, hilarious, and they give new opportunities.
They are funny.
So I made my own fumble table where if you roll a 1, I roll a d4. If it's a 1 on the d4, you do damage to yourself. If it's a 2 on the d4, you miss but damage an adjacent creature.
Interesting.
If you roll a 3, you just miss. Nothing happens. If you roll a 4, it still hits, but at like half damage, but it has to do it in a ridiculous way. So like somebody comes swinging at you and they miss, but they get you on the backswing. Just something stupid like that.
Interesting.
So I had a fight with a bunch of Yuan-Ti and some Nagas, and they were down to the last, it was a Medusa archer, and he was going down swinging. He had like maybe 2 hit points left. And so it was him refusing to die, and he crit fails. and he rolls a 1. And so he kills himself. So I, as the DM, killed my own boss monster. I got up, walked away from the table, went outside, and paced around the yard a few times.
Really struck a nerve, huh?
That was my biggest like crit fail, where I was just like, I spent weeks building this guy and I killed him myself.
Yeah, that kind of leads me into my. I've been sitting here thinking, because I've had a bunch of good ones since we've been playing. We've been playing a long campaign for about 3.5 years with the same people, and there's been a lot of moments where ones have really just kind of stirred the pot a little bit. I think one was recently. They actually kind of got to a point where they were about to kind of solve a giant thing that they were a boss that they had been hunting for a long time, and I gave him plane shift to get away, because as a DM I didn't think that the time was right for him to go, and if they were going to counter it, they were going to counter it. If not, then if not. He counterspelled the plane shift, and I had another wizard there to counter his counterspell, and I rolled a 1 on my counterspell, and he stopped his plane shift, and they were able to kill not 1 but 2 of the big bosses in my campaign, because I didn't think I was going to roll a 1 with the stats that she had. But yeah,
the dice giveth and the dice taketh away.
they took it that time for sure.
I once ran a wizard in a very long campaign with one of my current players that his main move was just counterspelling. That's all he did. We found some books and we found someone. All he did was do shutdown casting, and then a member of our party betrayed us. This isn't a critical miss story, but I have one of those too. A member of our party betrayed us, but it was the party sorcerer, and so it goes two rounds, this very brief fight, because he literally can't cast anything the entire time. And he's like, why? This is so broken. I'm like, dude, we've been like playing together for about 12 levels and you didn't realize I could do this. That was the big, yeah.
Oh man.
Didn't think that one through.
That's a critical failure of the mind right there.
Crit 1 on that wisdom check.
Yeah.
Right? God. Oh my gosh, that's funny. We had a couple other questions that just came in from chat, so I'm gonna grab those. The first one was,
I was gonna say, Amanda, did you have any crit fail stories?
I don't specific, but I did play a gunslinger in a campaign before.
Oh boy.
In Pathfinder. And so, you misfire when you crit fail. So definitely that was hilarious. Some of the role playing aspects of that every time. And I had really bad luck. I would say every single time we played, I misfired at least once.
Wow.
oh no.
So
Oh my God.
yes. So there was definitely, I can't remember a specific one, but there was definitely some really funny times as I continually misfired my gun pretty much every week.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's bad. Okay, so Mac Jackal Ranger asked a very important question. As all TTRPG players know, we need to know what's the best snack for streaming TTRPGs.
That's a good question.
Ooh.
Streaming, like where you're watching a stream or you are streaming?
I'm going to go with either or.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I like tea. Even though it's not a food, I love drinking tea during streams.
Yeah. I would have to say if I'm watching a stream, then I will probably go with potato chips or popcorn, just like any movie. Mm-hmm. But if I'm streaming, you're going to be listening to me, and nobody wants to hear the
in the mic.
You know?
Depends on what kind of stream I'm watching.
I was going to say it might be an ASMR stream, and then
there you go. So
I'm like,
I think the best snack I can think of if I'm streaming is air, because I don't want you guys to hear my.
Yeah.
That's true.
I had a bad experience with that. The first episode that we ever ran for Lawful Great, I didn't realize that you shouldn't have snacks at the table while you're recording. So the first 20 minutes before the bowl of chips ran out, you just hear those loud crunches, and the crunches come in louder
Yeah.
than the actual people's voices. I can't believe they carry that well. So I'm going back and remastering it, but
What
it's
a great first time.
Oh, that was a really hard lesson to learn because then I had to go back and edit that episode, and the whole time I'm like hating my friends. I'm like, I cannot stand you guys. Please stop eating.
That is our poor editor. He suffers because where we record, because we all record at a table, all in the same place, is you can hear the clock, because there's a clock.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, no.
The hum of the refrigerator, know. My Megan is an artist, and so during one of our streams, when we were, remotely streaming for COVID, she was working on the giveaway piece. She was doing a marker piece that we were giving away for a giveaway, and so every single time you could hear, the marker just click, click.
Oh, no.
Our poor editor, he was just like,
Yeah. Oh,
I've
yeah.
never
I don't.
actually streamed a game before, like online. I never stepped into the online space until COVID happened. I had never had to. We all just made the drive from wherever we were to play in person. So if I was gonna say watching it, you know what? I'm gonna give the weird healthy answer. I'm gonna say granola. I actually love granola a lot, and it satisfies the crunch,
It's
like
delicious.
that you would get from, like the chip or the like the pretzel or something. But oh my god, I love granola so much.
I literally
good
have a
one.
bag of trail mix sitting right here next to me.
So good.
Yeah. That's
Mine's-
go ahead.
Mine's a pretty unhealthy one. It's usually margarita. So bottom.
Oh, there it is. Cheers.
okay.
Little whiskey over here. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, see, I'm
There you go.
usually
Guys are making
sipping
me
on something
thirsty.
when I'm playing. Either
It's true.
yeah. So that's just my poison.
Yeah. I always have a drink with me when we're streaming. Just because it's a lot of talking and
Now,
get
when you say
thirsty and whatever,
drink, my kind of drink or like Mike's kind of drink?
it depends on whether my daughter is home.
Ah,
That's fair.
Fair.
Yeah.
fair.
Single parent, if I have to take her to the ER, I don't want to be loaded. So
I swear I don't even know what happened to her. She just missed the arm. I don't know. I don't even know.
Wow.
It went away.
okay. Yeah. So no, 90% of the time it's either like water or seltzer water or something like that. But
Yeah.
on occasion I'll have like a glass of wine or something while we're streaming. But and then if I'm watching somebody else stream, like I said, I've got like a bag of trail mix sitting right here. But I try not to eat that actually while I'm sitting at my desk because it's got sunflower seeds in it and I don't want those ending up in my keyboard. So
That's a fair point.
yeah.
That would be brutal to get out.
Yep.
I've since
yeah.
given up trying to get rid of the crud on this thing. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
I gave up.
I've actually heard for cleaning keyboards that cat urine remover actually works quite well, and it's safe
What?
for keyboards. Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
so
Oh, yeah.
little
Mhm.
industry secret there. So
wow. Okay.
This has now become an educational stream, folks. There you go.
I need a fact check
You're
on
welcome.
that.
yeah,
Right,
look
I
it
know.
up. Look it up.
Somebody
I
check
heard
that on Snopes or something. I don't know, but
Cat urine cleaner.
Yep,
and
stain
while
and
you
odor
guys
remover
are
for
looking
cats.
that
Yeah.
up, I'm going to pose another question to you that came in. All right, 1187 would like to know who your favorite character of yours in all your history of TTRPG is.
That I've played, or like in general, like in the space.
There's no clarification,
I could
so
no sooner pick a favorite star in the heavens.
They're like my children.
right?
Okay.
Actually,
Okay.
I might have one.
All right, I'll have to think about this one.
For a character that I've played, I played a character I named Jack that I got to level 20, all the way to level 20 before he passed away. He was a College of Whisper Bard. He was a midnight jet black tiefling with white horns. I love Whisper Bards. Whisper Bards are super fun. The playstyle is amazing to me. By the end of it, I think I had plus like 19 to persuasion or something like that at the end of my stat line. Yeah, I love bards, and Whisper Bards to me was like my favorite kind of subsection of it. And then in the space in general, I have to say Grog Strongjaw. I have to say him. Him and Travis Willingham are like my favorites on the planet. So the way he played Grog in campaign 1 of Critical Role was like my favorite. I just loved it. I love the barbarian and the Goliath play style a lot.
All right.
I think I've got one. Actually, it's the counter spell mage that I was talking about, and I hope Alex is in the chat. I'm not actually looking at it, but I hope Alex is in the chat because he was the dungeon master for this. I played this guy level 1 to 20. His name was Daniel Temperance. He was a former monk, and this was Pathfinder, and he was a just wizard 20. No glitz, no fuss, but I built him around counterspelling, and he eventually, high-level Pathfinder is super broken, so he eventually turned into the Doctor, but with spell slots instead of a sonic screwdriver. And I remember in one session through Scry and Fry, we found all 7 pieces of Excalibur to finish some dude's side quest that was supposed to take 3 weeks.
Wow. Okay.
That's awesome.
He eventually ascended into demigod status because he pissed off too many extraplanar beings. And they wanted to get rid of him, so they gave him a middle management role in the heavens so they could shut him up.
Story.
Oh my gosh.
Fun story.
I love it.
To this day, when Alex is DMing, we live across the street from each other. To this day, when this guy is DMing, I'll occasionally get a text, be like, "Hey, is Daniel around?" And then I have to run across the street, throw on my ridiculous British voice, bust in the room, and ask what's going on because they just decided to summon the demigod to come and help.
That's amazing.
I'm in love
with that. I'm in love with that whole story.
That's fantastic.
So we got the jet black bard that could convince you the sky is green with his 19 persuasion. And then we've got the ascended demigod that everybody was like, listen, I want you out of our way. Go middle management. Just
two strong picks, might I add.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love level 20 characters. I would love to play one someday.
Man. It's great for like 3 sessions, and then it gets really silly. It's so much.
It does get a bit silly. The stat line on a 20 should never be a thing.
Yeah. I think my favorite character that I've ever played, well, I have a couple. I'm very partial to the characters that I'm currently playing because I'm in 3 streaming TTRPGs right now, 2 on this channel and 1 on another channel, and I'm madly in love with all 3 of them. But when oh my gosh, this was probably 10 years ago, I played a Kender rogue. I based her, like the whole concept of her came from my daughter, who was about 2 at the time. Nice. And so like she just behaved like a 2-year-old, and she liked to find things that belonged to other people. And you know, it was like, yeah, she just found things. And where'd you get that sword from? I don't know, I found it. What do you mean you found it?
I love that.
Yeah, but one of the best things, I mean, it wasn't, I thought it was one of the best things she ever did was we were out, I don't know, somewhere, and we had a session where like some people had to miss it, so like we ended up getting to a rest point, and in order to catch the people up that had missed the opportunity to play, we did a couple of like little like one-offs with the DM. So I was with the DM, and we were playing the one for my character, and she wakes up in the middle of the night for whatever reason. She can't sleep, and she discovers that another character has taken their cleric and hogtied him in a fireplace where they're staying, and like literally has him just hanging there, and he is sound asleep. And it's like, oh my gosh. So I'm looking at this, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to do something with this. So she goes off, she does her thing, she comes back, he's still asleep. So she sets a fire trap under him.
Oh goodness. Oh my God.
I guess we didn't like the cleric.
Yeah, we had fun. We had fun harassing that guy. It was a good time. And then she proceeded to pick his pockets clean, and he slept through the whole thing. So of course, the next morning he gets up. He can't figure out why he can't get down. Once he finally does get down, he sets off the fire trap that he didn't know was there. Then he goes to get his stuff and discovers all of his stuff is gone. So I don't know. I found it.
That's the start of his no good, very bad day.
Yeah,
I was about to say, worst start to a day ever.
Yeah. Yep, pretty much.
I was gonna say, Optimus just pointed out that Manda's favorite character is a bookcase, I believe. So,
I gotta know about that.
Story time. Story time.
Well, there was a burning bookcase on top of a child in our first episode of Tabletop Tavern 2 on Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
And and yes, it was very flammable. And yeah, so come to find out, at first I was concerned about the child underneath the bookcase, and then they ended up pickpocketing me. So then I was a little less concerned. And now we like to talk about the bookcase. And
I would like to point out that, that child was under a burning bookcase, and you said, "Hold on, I'm leaving for help," and you left.
my arms and hands are shriveled and blackened. There is no way I could have lifted that bookcase up.
Just wanted to point out that part. That's all. So.
Oh my God, that was hilarious. And now poor Amanda, one night I sent her a picture, we were playing, and I'm like doodling in my notebook, and I send her a picture of a bookcase leaning out, peeking around a corner.
Fit take on my monitor. It was amazing.
That's D&D, ladies and gentlemen. I love it.
There you go.
Yeah,
There
it was a
is.
good time. That was a good time.
Yeah, some of my favorite characters that I've encountered. I mean, one was a character I played actually in a Starfinder campaign that removed disc actually GMs. It was this character named Crow or CRO, so everyone just called him by his designation. But he was he was a robot, and he didn't quite understand social norms, and so like he had a very hard time, like, I don't know, doing the right thing, or maybe he would get a little too intrusive in conversations, or think for people are his friends when really they're trying to kill him. But my favorite aspect of him was, as we all know, in any D&D game, people have very weird names, non-standard names. So what I would do anytime we met someone who didn't have a normal name, I would type it into a text message on my phone, and then I'd let it auto-correct it, and I would call them whatever it auto-corrected to.
Nice.
That caused some interesting situations, to say the least.
That's
I made some
amazing.
friends. I didn't make some friends. So.
Yep.
I love that.
The other character I really have enjoyed in my travels, in my 11-month travel in Dungeons and Dragons now. By the way, I've only been playing for 11 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, surprise. Was actually a character in that same campaign called Boblin the Goblin.
Yes.
Who he's just a
So
troublemaker.
good.
Yeah, and he's like an ally on our team that we he goes on trips with us through space and stuff on our spaceship, but he's not quite strong enough to go like actually fighting with us, so we usually leave him on the ship, and every time we come back, he's blown up something or reprogrammed some things, or maybe if we left him in a city, he gets arrested for what he called rocketeering, which he said he was on a rocket and he was just like flying around and like causing a whole bunch of commotion. So he's like, I think I got arrested for
I love it.
rocketeering. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So good.
There's always a mystery after we finish this like epic adventure. Like we come back and we're like, oh man, that was exhausting, and the ship is upside down because Boblin got out of control.
What did Boblin do?
Boblin.
Exactly.
It's like the end of the 80s sitcom. Everybody,
Fades out to the title screen.
Yeah.
whatever happened to predictability?
Yes.
Boblin.
Oh my God.
That's hysterical.
I love it. I love that.
Great times.
Oh God. So that actually leads into another good question that we got. Somebody, Caitlin Knack wants to know what everyone's favorite background to take is.
Ooh.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Every character is different,
Yeah.
And so the background I always pick depending on the character that I'm going to build, So I couldn't say I'd have a favorite background because every character, there's one that would fit them. That's a tough one.
Say chaotic blank. Chaotic something.
Yeah.
I'll do that one. Yeah, because I like that play style where you can kind of like, I don't know, maybe like switch it up like based on the situation that you're in, because you don't really have a designated like deity that you have to follow or like laws you have to follow. You can just do what your character would do. Yeah, so I'd say chaotic something.
Nice.
I like being the only person at the table with a family. So you get into the tavern with your group and it's like, I'm Zane Darkshadow and my parents were destroyed by a vampire lord and I must exact revenge. And I'm like, yeah, I'm Bob the Commoner. I'm trying to send some go back to me mom. I heard adventuring was a pretty good way to make a bit of coin.
Like that.
Throw in the curveball of like, what a minute, you don't have a serious scary backstory.
Yeah.
Nope, just a career I kind of wanted to jump in on. Always thought it was interesting.
I like that though.
Yeah, it's fun playstyle.
And then between missions, I can go like visit my mom and have like a heartfelt scene with my mom where I lie to her about all the things that I'm doing so that she doesn't worry. Oh, it's fun.
That's
great.
great.
I like the tough pasts though. I like the concept of overcoming adversity.
Yeah.
And I think both in role-playing games and in real life, sometimes it can be easy if you have some adversity early in life to fall prey to that and not maybe live such an honorable life. But I like to see, when bad things happen to people, how they overcome that. And I try to incorporate that sometimes into my characters' backstories and just show that beyond what happened in someone's past, people can still move forward and spread positivity and goodness in the world.
And grow from that.
And grow from that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Go
ahead.
I was just about to say I can't pick one. I've played Broody McEdgebrood, which is my character right now in Discount Dungeons, is literally like my nickname in that one is The Edge. But I've also played like for my Pathfinder that I didn't get to do because of everything that happened, but that was going to be Bartholomew, and Bartholomew was going to speak in the third person the entire time.
I like that.
I've played those. It's a lot of fun.
Bartholomew was just going to be the herald for the resident noblemen of the party, and then I've had another character that was like a mom who adopted one of the other party members,
Cool.
So it was found family. It was it was a dwarf cleric of Moradin, and she adopted the tiefling fighter, and like that became like her daughter, and so like there's so many options. I can't pick a favorite because I like trying them all, I guess would be. So variety is the spice of life for this guy.
True.
I love it in session 0 when all the players get together and they're like, "Oh, you're my brother, and we were best friends growing up, and you saved my life back in this last town." Like they like get this like relationship built up on the fly, and it's like instant chemistry out the gate. Oh, it's electric. It's great.
That's very cool.
I not to waylay this and make it about my podcast or anything, but one of the things I really liked when we were getting Discount Dungeons going and all that is the characters have a reason to be together beyond they met at a tavern and they're going to go take a mission together. I thought it was really cool. Our DM actually started a really good story where everybody's actually on a caravan escaping a war-torn country. So we're together out of necessity. In all actuality, there's no reason for all these characters to be together. They have their own stories and reasons, but they're stuck together because of external forces. And I feel like that's really interesting for me because a lot of campaigns, they start with everybody meets in a tavern and then they just work together, but sometimes it's not believable. It's like, why aren't you cutting and running? You don't owe these characters anything, but you kind of have to smush them together to get the story to go. And so I feel like our dungeon master came up with this very believable and unique reason for why all these different people that don't owe each other anything have to be together and why they don't just cut and run. Why are these people still together? And I love that. And so everybody's backstory is kind of synergizing and electrifying. Like, I love that happened, is what I'm trying to say.
It's a really neat idea. I mean, because I don't think you're wrong. I can't count the number of, campaigns that I've played that have started, you all wind up in a tavern or something like that. But it's a really neat idea to have a different, there's a reason for these people to be together.
Not to knock it, like that's a valid opener. Like it's a classic. I'm not saying that, oh, you meet in the tavern is a bad beginning. I'm just saying it's refreshing that there's a different, opening. And I really like that whenever I find any podcaster story where the characters meet outside of, some conventional. There's another podcast I'm just started, but I'm trying to get through it because I have so many podcasts. Shout out to Dungeons and Haggis, or is it Haggis and Dungeons?
Haggis and Dragons.
Haggis and Dragons.
Yeah.
Haggis and Dragons.
They all wake up on a battlefield, and like they died, but they're not sure, and they just wake up in this battlefield, and it's such a unique starter. It is, and I love it, and it grabbed me immediately because I'm like, what happened? What happened to this fight? Did you guys die? Did you guys not die? I need to know.
Gives a chance to kind of naturally build up a story rather than maybe forcing it when you all meet in a tavern. You're like, well, now you guys have to be best friends and go out and kill stuff together.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
I have to say, it's really funny that you mentioned the like stereotypic, you all meet in a tavern and you go from there, because I've played like a really long time ago back in high school. Me and my buddies, we got together for like 3 D&D sessions. It was the first time I'd ever played D&D, and like the only time until recently. And we met exactly in that manner. All right, you're all in a tavern, and go. And I was like, it's like, the hell do I do from here?
I know that feeling so much when you first play D&D.
Yeah.
And you just have some numbers and a piece of paper, and they're like, okay, what do you do? And you're like,
I had no idea what to do. Yeah,
it's
like,
scary.
What do I do? Give me some direction. Like, where's the tutorial?
Yes, exactly.
I always try to have a tavern plan when I build a new character. Right
that's
before
a good
the first actual session, I think to myself, okay, if this DM starts us in a tavern and asks us to just kind of vamp, what am I going to do? So my most recent game that I started, a friend of mine, we're just playing Strad online, which is fun. An old friend of mine from high school, he wanted to run a Strad campaign. So I'm running this ridiculous over the top fighter, and I'm like, okay, first bard I see, I'm gonna hype him up. That's what I'm gonna be. I'm the bard's hype man, and I'm gonna get him a ton of money. So that was my
that was my
tavern. That was my tavern plan, and it turns out someone else was playing a bard, so nailed it.
Perfect. Works out that way sometimes.
That's great. All right, so somebody else, Breaker of Legends wants to know, on the point of starting out a campaign, do you like or embrace the concept of your character not being destined for greatness from the start?
That's a great question.
Oh, I love this.
That's a great question from a great name.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's a solid question and a thinker for sure.
I think for me, I can say the character that I play on Sunday nights never considered herself to be destined for greatness, never even considered herself to be a hero, still doesn't consider herself to be a hero. At this point, she's about ready to cut and run from the town. Yeah. She's like, what am I even doing here anymore? Like, this town is just destined for failure. And she is like, she's seriously considering like cutting her losses and getting out. So yeah. We shall see, but
yeah, I mean, my character, my character on Tabletop Tavern, I've not really, obviously I've thought about, there's going to be a progression and where he gets to, but I've never really thought of it past his own kind of background resolution. So like, he's got a background which still hasn't fully come out on the show, so I don't want to spoil it or anything, but like, I've only thought of it up to that point where his background is resolved and he can be at peace. And like, I've never really thought of him being like, world-renowned hero or anything like that. Just like, he kind of wants to gain his own personal wellness and personal resolution, and then be good from there. So
respect that.
Yeah, that resonates, to be honest with you. Like, I'll go back to the character I was talking about before with Jack. He never expected to be a hero. He was sort of thrown into this party. He had so many flaws. I built this character on his flaws, and then that's where I started, and I built everything else around his flaws. And I was like, this guy's never gonna amount to any. He'll probably die by level 6 because I played him so recklessly. I mean, he's the only character I've gotten to 20, and then he finally, kicked it. But like, I didn't expect him to get past level 6, to be honest with you. I just was so reckless with him. I jumped on top of a giant squid head. I did just the most reckless things with this character because I like to play my characters like respectfully. I like to play them to what they would do rather than what I would do. And I never expected him to turn out to be a hero. And then by the end of it, when all was like said and done, he was. And my DM at the time, and if he's watching, shout out to Yukai. He's an amazing writer. I didn't even realize I was becoming the hero until everything was wrapped up. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. I just did something good. And it's just like, oh, okay, well, I guess we'll go from there.
I've stumbled into heroics.
I'm feeling that, Matt. I'm actually playing that guy right now, but at the inception of his journey, like totally. I'm trying to get him killed, actually, because I have like another character in mind, and I'm like, oh, it'd be really cool to play this character. But now everyone's getting attached to him, so I'm just taking like deeper and deeper risks, and they keep paying off because the dice are in my favor. So I think this guy's going to go the distance. We'll see.
You're going to end up loving him. I promise you. You're going to be like, I want to kill this character. That's what he's there for. And then by the end of it, you're going to fall in love with him, and it's going to be awful.
Yeah, because he's going to die. As soon as I stop trying to kill him, he's going to die. But the way I started my show, I guess not to shamelessly plug, but the way I started my show is they're all the players are peasant farm friends. So they're all from this little small town in the middle of nowhere, and they're all farmers or farmers' kids or whatever, and they're all peasants, and they start from very meek beginnings. And what I was really interested in was having them have as little backstory as possible so that we could essentially have them as blank slates, so that they would develop their personalities over time once they're pulled out of their hometown and into this like big adventure. And so far that's kind of been trickling out. Yeah, it's conceptually very difficult to pull off, but I just really that was the crazy idea I had in my head, and so far it's been really rewarding because they hit me up in the private chat and they're like, oh, I have this idea, this is how my character feels about this and this, and it's like really engaging and fun.
That is so much fun.
Nice.
Yeah, that is fun.
That's my favorite part about homebrew stuff, like where you tailor make it for each like character's story. I love that so much. That's one of my favorites. Like nothing against playing like a module or pre-written stuff, but there's something special about homebrewed things that you can tailor to each person's like little story.
Yeah,
absolutely. The DM kind of weaves it into a beautiful tapestry, and I love that. It gives me chills.
Nice.
Cricket.
That's a good one. I don't know if anybody can follow that one up. So I'm gonna move on to another question from chat. So Jim the Dim asked us. I'm gonna take this question off on a tangent. Jim the Dim would like to know, what is your favorite non-dice TTRPG swag?
Ooh, okay.
Non-dice.
I'm like, well, there goes my answer.
So do miniatures count as swag?
Ooh, I would think so.
That's a great follow-up question.
Because I mean, I guess you use them, when you're playing.
I think minis would work.
Okay, then I would say mine would be miniatures. I love bringing it to life on the table with, and I have an insane collection. I'm probably on Reaper's like top customer list because I buy an insane amount of Reaper miniatures, and
I love minis.
And yeah, I love painting them, and incorporating them in the tabletop games. So that would probably be mine for sure.
I'm gonna have to second that one.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it, but I have quite a few minis at this point. So yeah, I might have to go with minis.
You mentioned the minis, and I was having a hard time just thinking about other paraphernalia I might have, and like. As soon as you said the minis, I remembered a fan of mine actually sent me, and shout outs to Ride Extreme, actually sent me a 3D printed Davdathos figurine.
Amazing.
It was amazing.
On Sunday nights.
Amazing.
With the Tabletop Tavern logo printed on the bottom and the name Davdathos written across the front. And it's about yay tall. Yeah, I was like, that was so awesome when I got that. I was just like, whoa. look at this. So yeah, that's probably my favorite.
I'll say clothes. I'll switch it up a little bit. The death saves, the clothing line from Joe Manganiello and all them. I get a lot of their stuff. Cool. I'm wearing my Archon shirt right now because I am in love with his character Archon the Cruel.
Joe Manganiello, if you're watching,
seriously, get on the program. I'm begging
Just
you.
saying.
Say the words.
I got one.
I will clear the schedule for you.
Just we'll Joe and Luna. That's all.
Yeah, we'll just call it Just Joe.
Eat at Joe's. Okay.
I love his stuff though. Like all their stuff. I have like a sweatshirts, shirts, all their stuff. I love their stuff.
I like go ahead. I was gonna say Armor Class 10 has some really funny t-shirts that I really like for D&D. They've got I mean they have a kind of some general gaming stuff too, but you know, a lot of the stuff that they have is hilarious. I used to date a guy who was like the perpetual DM, but I never played at any of his campaigns. And so he would be like, "Hey, can you know, whatever, grab the remote and toss it over here or whatever." And I'd be like, "You're not the DM of me." And so they have a t-shirt that says, "You're not the DM of me, so 5 foot step off." And so I bought that and I used to wear it around him all the time. He would get so irritated.
Oh no, you're giving I know my girlfriend's watching the stream right now. You're giving her so many ideas. I know she's watching because one of that backstory question was her, and she's ordering the shirt right now. I can already I hear it.
It's Armor Class 10.
Oh God, no.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's I like any kind of that's what she's like. Yes, thank you.
No.
Sorry. I take absolutely no responsibility for anything that happens in your relationship from here on out.
This is hilarious. This is great. Everything's good.
But yeah, no, I love like the funny t-shirts. I also have another one from them that looks like the Dunkin' Donuts logo and it says Dungeons and Dragons. Adventurers run from dragons. One. Yeah.
Yep. That one's great.
Yep, I've got that one.
I came up with one. There is a company called Black Phoenix Alchemy Labs, and they do scented oils and things like that. And they have a Dungeons and Dragons line. So they have different scents targeted towards the classes, the races, and the alignments.
Interesting.
So you could literally get, you know, lawful evil scented oil or dwarf scented oil.
That's so interesting.
And
that is interesting.
If you burn the orc one and the fighter one at the same time, does it just smell like a locker room or?
They're really cool. They actually go in and describe what they picked for the scents. So like my favorite is Paladin, because I have Paladin and I have Cleric. And Cleric smells like church incense.
Oh.
And scrolls, like old scrolls, like so paper.
Oh.
Things like that.
That's such an interesting concept to do, is make sense based on the things based in D&D.
Paladin is got clean leather, like oiled leather, and metal polish or something like that. So if you look at their stuff, they'll describe the scents that went into it and what they made to make that.
Awesome.
And
that's so cool.
Imagine,
they've done that for the classes, the classes, the races, and the alignments in their RPG line. But they have
I can picture
other
it
lines
right now,
too.
like you're doing like a podcast, like a D&D podcast, and you're like, okay, listeners, now burn your half orc scented aroma candle for this next part.
Perfect. That's
genius.
Sponsorships are open. I won't even take cash. Just send me stuff in the mail.
That would be great, though. Imagine like if you made this group where you had the music and
Right.
DM, and then you'd have
Everyone
the
has to have their sense. Yep. And then you tell them when to burn certain ones so you can
that's
smell it
cool.
along with
That'd be really fun.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at chat right now, and somebody, Breaker of Legends, says, I would not want to smell a fighter half orc, just saying, or a fighter barbarian, or a half orc barbarian. And then Tiny Timmy Skittles says, is the rogue oil hard to smell?
I saw that one. That
Yep.
was funny.
Can you even see the rogue oil? How do you know when you run out?
I like that.
So
Chat's funny.
they're a funny group.
Alchemy
They're a
Labs.
funny group. Alchemy Labs. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, me too.
I like that idea.
Alchemy
Done.
Labs.
Definitely. Absolutely. I really like that idea. Okay. So let's see. We got a few minutes still until we go to break. So
Wow, time flies.
I know.
I was just thinking that. I was like, a few minutes. It was 8:30 last time I looked at my clock.
I know. We've got about 10 minutes until we go to break. So
I was just thinking this margarita ran through me. So
well, that's okay, because a couple weeks ago we had a new hashtag coined here, Dave. I don't know if you heard about this.
I don't think I did.
Hashtag free the P. Yes.
For that one.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Oh my gosh. I will explain that when we go to break. Red Rose 0804 would like to know, do you guys like playing or running one shots? If so, what is your fave?
I get attached to the long running ones. I like the investment and the slow burn. So of the two, I would pick a long running game over a one shot, but I will never turn down a good one shot, because the more I can play, the better. Because
yeah, that's exactly how I feel too. I love the investment and creating. I feel it's harder to create a more involved character when you know that it's just going to be played one time. But I like the randomness of the one shots too.
Yeah.
I like when I don't necessarily like the pre-made one shots, but if a buddy of mine comes to me and says, "Oh, we're going to do something stupid for a one shot. I need you to make a half chicken. Can you, like, it's like, you'll see when we get there." Or I ran a one shot. We just called it Buddy Cop Movie, the game 2, where it was just a police procedural / John Woo film. And we did it over the course of an evening. And it was just, I was DMing it. I think it was Shadowrun. And then it was 2 friends. I like it when the one shots are really steeped in like style and genre and really come at you with like a really hard point right out the gate.
Yeah.
Because then I feel like I can just go in and just be totally ridiculous, and then we're going to come out of it and have a good time and maybe be a little bit buzzed. When it's just sort of like a module, it's like, oh, you're going to go into this mine and kill goblins. It's like, hey, yeah, but like, what's my motivation? What am I supposed to feel? How am I supposed to feel about these goblins?
I couldn't agree more with that. Like the pre-made ones, no, like they're amazing. I love them, and I like reading them more than I do playing. But if someone comes to me with like a very funny, like interesting, like, kind of low energy one shot, I mean, it just makes, like, this is so embarrassing. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I actually ran a session, and if some of my players are in here, I love you guys so much because they did this with me. The mouse race, the untested mouse race, you can find it online. It's like a homebrewed mouse race where like these little tiny mice, and I ran a whole one shot with mice people, and they scaled a mountain, and they fought, I don't even want to say it, it hurts so bad. They fought Tia Cat, which was just Tiamat with cat heads.
Yes.
I
love it.
I need you to write this module because I want to play it.
I love that.
That hurt. Oh, it hurt right there. I felt it right there. It was so fun. It was so much fun, and my players were amazing. Like, one of them had a cheese shield with like a toothpick as a sword. It was the cutest, most just warming one shot of all time.
Oh my gosh! I want to fight Tia Cat now.
I'll write the module. I have to do it. I'll do it.
That.
Oh my God.
Right? All right, this group right here. Here we go.
This group here, we're gonna do the Legend of Tiamat.
You know what? Fine. I will. That is fine with me. I will resurrect that story, it was amazing.
So
yeah.
after we're done with this Discord, we're gonna make another server.
Everyone refill on their drinks. We'll meet back here at 11 o'clock. We'll figure this out.
Oh my gosh. That's
Goodness
hilarious.
gracious. That was my favorite one shot I've ever run personally.
The funniest thing, I think I could say my favorite one shot right now is probably Discount Dungeons, because hilariously, it was supposed to be a one shot. We actually made up these characters and we actually rolled, 3d6, and we kept those stats. And we were going to run like a one shot dungeon. And instead, it was just like, hey, what do you guys think about doing a podcast? Okay, let's do a podcast. And then it became this. But it was originally supposed to be a one shot.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So that's how we have, 2 Kenku, a Tiefling, a Goblin, a Half-Orc, and I'm the only one that actually made... No, I'm lying. Patch made a new character, because Patch made... His original character was a Minotaur Cleric named Softhoof, who was going to die instantly. He rolled.
That's a fantastic name, by the way. Can't let that just slide.
Right?
Yeah, actually, same.
His stats were just nothing. We knew he was going to die, within half hour. So he made, after Softhoof, he upgraded to a 2-DAC. I was going to play a Tabaxi named Kitty Cat. That was not her name, but that was what everybody called her.
Oh, lovely.
So her name was Kitty Cat. But when it's like, hey, let's turn this into a campaign, I was like, I know as soon as I played an actual campaign with all these people, because I just met them, by the way, I've only known these people for less than a year and I love them, that I was going to play this character named Anna that I was desperate to play. So when it was time to make the podcast, I was just like, okay, Kitty Cat, goodbye.
Put them in the recycle bin. Maybe you can bust them out again when another one shot comes around.
Yeah,
it doesn't turn into
absolutely.
a full-fledged campaign.
There
That's
you
where
go.
all my characters come from.
So
Yeah.
I guess it's fair to say that Discount Dungeons is my favorite one shot.
There you go. I don't play a lot of one shots. I'm going to be doing one coming up actually that I'm really excited about because it's the new Zweihander system. So we just did character creation last Friday, and I think we're going to play it next Friday or something like that. We're trying to set it up. It's really just kind of a test session, but the character creation is ridiculous. It's all based on a D100 roll.
Oh God.
Oh goodness.
And so my character is hilarious. She's an ogre. She's 8.5 feet tall. She is like the life of the party and everybody loves her, but she hates everybody. So like she has this like wicked air about her. So I'm like, trying to figure this all out and trying to figure out how I'm going to play this. And I'm like, this is going to be a lot of fun, I think, because ogres are something I never play. Like, so I'm kind of excited about doing that. But
that's gonna be so fun. That sounds
yeah.
like
Picturing like, oh, ogre, you're so funny. Get away from me. You're so funny.
You're hilarious. I know, right? So, yeah. So by the end of the night, I mean, we discovered, she's got, whatever color skin she has and whatever color eyes she has. One of the things that we had to roll for was like, some weird feature, and like she ended up having watery eyes, so like her eyes just constantly water.
Oh no.
Oh, weird.
I'm like, oh my God.
No wonder no one takes her seriously.
Exactly. So
ogre that's constantly crying.
Right. And so of course, and then we're talking about, all of the equipment that they start with, and they're like, okay, and so you have a stiletto. So of course now all I can think of is this 8.5 foot tall ogre that everybody loves and is the life of the party with one stiletto, but thinking like the shoe, not the knife, and like doing the walk of shame home from the club at the end of the night.
Shaking the ground as she walks.
Pretty much. I'm like, oh, this is awful.
That's amazing.
So the character generation is like 100% randomized?
Pretty much, yeah.
Whoa.
There's very little that's left to. I mean, that's the way we did it. I don't know. I didn't look at like the book for character creation. I just went off of what the DM was giving me. So it was pretty much completely randomized. I think the only thing that I could or could not have rolled for was basically like the equivalent of the alignment system in that game, but it's not the same. It's not like, lawful and neutral and things like that.
God, I gotta try that.
Different, it's a really cool looking system. So
completely random. Wow, that sounds insanely fun to me.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about getting to actually play the game itself. It sounds like it's really really big. Like there's a really high chance to fail as your character. Like there's a really significant chance that your character will fail in the game. So which I'm kind of okay with. I want to try out systems that are like that, so I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Why it's randomized so much, because you well, I mean, you can get invested, but not super invested, because I just put all this time in creating this entity and versus randomizing these bits and pieces, and it's like, oh look, I made a goose. It's gone. Well, I guess I will make another one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. The other thing that I was looking at on Twitter recently, there's a guy that I follow, Ian McGill. I don't know if any of you have seen his stuff. He makes like these pick up and play one-shot games that are literally 100% random, the entire game. And so it's designed to like your character creation is based on like a D12 roll. If you roll whatever, you're this type of character, the way that your character speak, one of the ones that he just posted on Twitter this week was wagons and wizards, or wizards and wagons, something like that. So basically everybody speaks, like with the Western Southern, and you're these wizards that have to get their wagon of cargo to wherever it needs to go, and the entire thing is totally random. I'm actually pretty psyched because he's going to be on the show next week. So
that's amazing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Definitely gonna check that one out for
what
sure.
you're saying is it's like the Dungeons and Dragons Oregon Trail.
Yes, more or less. More or less.
Whether or not you die of dysentery.
Yeah.
I will die of dysentery.
But will you die of dissing Terry?
Oh.
I mean, how well do I know Terry?
That's another fair question.
That's true. That's true.
I like to grab those like instant adventures and 2-minute tabletop one shots. Those do really like tight 1-page ones, and use them for like travel encounters.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great idea.
Because I hate random encounters, right? Like, all right, everyone roll for watches, and now, you're getting attacked by wolves. So, but you're still asleep. All right, now roll initiative, and now you're awake. And it's like, okay, this is a little tedious. But like, if they run into like an old wizard's tower and it's a little pre-made adventure, and then we can just spend a session kind of going through this wizard's tower, and I can kind of sprinkle in some lore. That's a lot of fun, and that's a really good use of those little one shots. So I steal from those for my games basically all the time. I think about 50% of my gameplay I just snagged from little one shots that I sort of stitched together like a quilt.
We've learned your secret.
I'm an open book. It's
but now we know. All right, let's see. I am going to grab one more question and then we will throw it to break. So let's see. Oh, here's a good one that we can take over into right before break. From Optimus Subprime Mortgage, he would like to know, what is your favorite exploit or broken rule from a TTRPG?
First of all, that's my band's name. So
that's copyright. That's my acapella group's name. You are copyright. That's hilarious. Broken rule.
Oh man.
Gosh.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
No, you go.
Sure?
Yeah, go.
Okay. So going back to the redheaded stepchild of D&D that everybody hates, 4th edition, my friends were making a game, and I was joining in, and I was excited because I'd been DMing the last several sessions, so I was excited to play in one. And I was like, what does your group need? You know, like, does it need a healer? Does it need a controller? Like, what's going on? And they're like, well, we're kind of short on the damage. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make the most damaging guy I can, right? So I looked into what is the highest damage dealing weapon. And it was an Executioner's Axe. But because Executioner Axes were 1d12, but they were brutal too. So if you rolled a 1 or a 2, you got to re-roll. So you did a minimum of 3 to 12 damage. Unless you got a large Executioner's Axe, which is the kind that a giant would use, in which it would be a 2d6, brutal 1 and 2.
Interesting.
So you could never roll less than 3 on 2d6. That's crazy, right? So I went looking like, how do you play a character that can wield a large item, right? And I went hunting around, and I found out that bugbears have a feature that allows them to use items a size class larger than them. So I made Fuzzgug the bugbear, bear warrior, werebear barbarian.
Nice. That's wonderful.
I love it.
So he had lots of bear. And at one point, he could roll something like 10d6 for one of his rage attacks, and none of those d6s could roll less than a 3.
Wow.
Jeez.
So that would probably be my favorite broken exploit, was finding a weapon that's 2d6 that you can't roll less than 3 on both those items. So it's always going to be a minimum of 6 damage.
Interesting. And I actually so it's funny, I saw this in chat, but I promise this was the one that I was going to say before I saw it in chat. But in D&D 5e, I have a home group that we've been playing for the last almost coming up on 4 years now. And I have a druid in the group, and it's conjure woodland beings. If you conjure woodland beings, you can conjure 8 pixies, and you can continuously polymorph anything if it fails its save. So basically, you can conjure 8 pixies, and then all those pixies have the ability to polymorph. All of them get their own initiative rolls, and to be honest with you, one druid, Circle of the Shepherd, could at least CC an ancient white dragon constantly over and over and over and over again, because basically you have a 1 in 8 chance to fail every initiative roll that you have to get polymorphed. And so basically that happened in one of my sessions where they were fighting it, and she conjured up those pixies, and that was the moment I banned pixies from my game. Totally. It's just that's a crazy exploit to me, to think that one player could instinctually beat any encounter that they want by polymorphing something over and over and over again is crazy to me. So I was like, nope, you can conjure anything else you want. You can conjure Velociraptor if you want to, but no more pixies. I can't do it. Can't do the pixies anymore.
That's pretty good. So we've got polymorphing pixies, and we've got a giant's Executioner Axe. Does anyone else have a broken exploit?
Let me explain to you how Scry and Fry works.
Okay.
Yes.
This is the 3rd time I've brought up this mage. I guess I have some unfinished business with him, but I think it was 3. Yeah, it was 3.5. If you take the right setup of feats and set your Knowledge Arcana and Spellcraft skills up just right, you could do what's called Scry and Fry, which is basically you use the Scry spell to do remote viewing. And then you can, if you are remote viewing, cast spells in that location as if you were there. It also counts as having experienced the location for the purposes of teleport. So what you can do, it was busted, man. And it's like, and we're not even talking 9th level stuff, like right around 6th or 7th level, you can start doing these shenanigans. So what you could do is you could set up the scry, you could link your mind with like your sorcerer buddy, and then you could both just lob a bunch of spells at the location that you're targeting, and then just teleport the whole party there. And you're like this magical shock force and it was absolutely atrocious.
God,
I did it for one session. I did it for one session.
Not listening.
Yeah. Yachts, I just saw you in chat. Are you taking notes?
Right.
I've been banned from playing spellcasters from 3 different tables.
I know why now. What?
You can't. I don't think you can do it in 5e anymore, and you definitely couldn't do it in 4e because that's the first thing I checked for. But 3.5 in Pathfinder, yeah, scry and fry. It's the best. It's wonderful.
Great.
My DM asked me politely to stop doing it after that session.
Thank God, I can hear my co-host writing notes.
I know. I can picture our mage right now in Tabletop Tavern being like, wait, okay, so what were those feats that I needed to look for?
Yeah, Yacht's Twitch is making notes as we speak.
Absolutely. I guarantee it.
Gracious.
All right. Well, I am going to I hate to cut that question short, but I want to make sure we get a chance to take a quick break. It is 10 after the hour already, so we're going to take a quick break, let our guests get up, stretch their legs, refill their drinks, all that good stuff. And in the meantime, if we haven't answered your question yet, we saw it. We will get to it after the break. I've got a list of questions that we still have not gotten to yet. So
we got a whole bunch of them.
We do. We've got a whole bunch of them. So stick around. Come on back in about 10 minutes, and we'll get going again. Thanks so much for sticking around after the break. And I threw up a poll. It's still going for probably another minute. So if you didn't get a chance to answer it over the break, I put up the question of what is your favorite TTRPG snack? As of right now, something else is winning.
Something else.
Something else. The options are chips or popcorn, chocolate, Twizzlers, soda, or something else. So if you want to weigh in on that, go ahead. And otherwise, we are going to jump right back into questions because we have a bunch that we were not able to. That's because beer isn't on there.
That's fair. That's fair.
Okay, I will give you that one. All right. So let's see. Quaman would like to know, have any of you just been handed a character sheet and told this is what you will be playing for the duration of this campaign, or have been told to pick a character by blind draw? They would have a backstory with the character sheet.
Well, I haven't, but I think you were just talking about something that kind of qualifies for that, right, Luna?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
I know I haven't ever before. I've played with DMs that are very like backstory heavy, like you do what you want to do, here's my world, but kind of like make it in this world, and then they let us kind of do our own thing, and then there's a lot of conversation back and forth, and then boom, session 0 happens and we go.
Once when I was in high school, someone quit and I just desperately wanted to play. This was like and it was all upperclassmen, and I was like super young, right? So they're like 16 and 17 and I'm like 14.
Whoa.
And yeah, it was really intense. And I was even more awkward than I am now. So that was it was a recipe for disaster. And so a friend of theirs quit. And so they're like, hey, I know you want to play. Do you want to come in? But you have to play their character. And it was like a 2nd edition, like mid-level assassin. And I had no idea what I was doing. And it was kind of a complicated character to play. And they're like, oh yeah, and he's got this backstory, and there's this, and there's this, and there's this. And I like fell on my face horribly. And so since then, I have just been like dreaming for my comeuppance where I get to do that again, where a dungeon master just comes to me. It's like, oh my God, we had someone quick. We need someone to sub in right now. You have to play this character. And I'm like, yes, I'm ready.
Well, you almost had that because that's you on this stream.
Yeah, this is it.
Congratulations. It's a mice person.
I feel like a weight's been lifted off my shoulders. This is outstanding. But otherwise, that's never happened to me in campaigns, but one-shots, I love doing that in one-shots, either doing that to players or having that done to me. It's like, you are Grog the Impaler, and you need to be someone that's obsessed with impaling. I'm like, that's the next 4 hours of my life.
Yeah, that's when I've had it happen in one-shots.
I love it. I would not be against that, actually. I think it would be an interesting challenge and a lot of fun to jump, knee deep in the middle of a story and be like, you are now so and so, and be like, well, I guess I am.
I mean, when I
I'm
think
too
about
brushed
it,
up on the improv skills a little bit.
yeah, when I think about it,
that's
it's not
like
too different.
90% of my DMing style. Like, I just know my notes. My notes literally have maybe the encounter mechanics. Everything else is out of my butt. Everything else.
Yeah.
I just have the mechanic notes. This monster has an AC of blah, but everything else is just like, those characters want to go off the rails. Well, that's my secret, Captain. There are no rails.
That was the lesson that I learned in one campaign, is that the more I prepare, the less I'm ready.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I get that.
Never goes that way.
What were you starting to say before?
I was gonna say, when I think about it, it's not really that different than like picking up a video game where you play the role of a character who, the story is gonna revolve around him, and like, it's kind of all pre-written. So like, having a pre-made character sheet with a pre-made background and everything, and if the story is gonna revolve around that, it's not really that different.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
That reminds me of a very terrible joke that I will not share right now on a public but, if you guys remind me later, I'll tell it to you in private.
Fair enough. I only did one time, and it was because I was playing at PAX East one year, and so it was it was a D&D session with whoever the DM was that was there. And so in the interest of time, they literally, you get like a 2-hour session, and that's it. That's all you have time for, because they're running them throughout the day.
Wow.
And so they literally say, here's your character sheet, you get to come up with a name. And that was pretty much it, and then if you wanted to do any backstory stuff, it was all just kind of on the fly. But like, other than that, it was, here's your character, you're a human sorcerer, or you're a halfling, whatever,
It's so fun.
Yeah, it was very cool. So I ended up playing a mage, which is something that I never play mages. So that was interesting. But of course I was like, well, I can't come up with a name. And so they were I'm like sitting there like, I don't know what my name is. And the DM's like, starting to do his thing. And so, in comes this character that I can't remember what they were, but it was some, name that rhymed with whatever. And I was like, I know what my name is now. So they come around to me and they're like, and who are you? And I'm like, I'm Sage the Mage.
Yes. It's like
Classic.
speed dating for D&D. Give them a character sheet and you're like, do it. And you're like, I don't
Yes.
know.
It was a
Dating for
true test
D&D.
of my improv
Yeah.
skills, and I failed miserably, but I came up with a pretty great character name, if nothing
That was
else.
the first con that I ever did, though, was at PAX East, actually. That was the first con I ever went to, was PAX East, all the way up in Boston. Love PAX East. Now, I haven't been back since, which makes me so sad.
I have gone this past PAX East, because we squeaked it in just under the wire, was my 9th. So
It was my first, actually.
Yep.
Was this
It's such a
year.
cool
Decider
spot. I love it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry.
MandaManda came too. That was fun.
That
Some
was
of the people
awesome.
that are in our chat were there. Yeah. You've gone to 2, right, Manda?
Yeah,
This was
that
your
was my second one, and
Yeah.
the year before was my first.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I gotta get
have
back to
not
PAX
been
East,
PAX East.
Absolutely. We are big fans of PAX East here. That's because most of us live in the Northeast. So
That's fair. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been to cons, but I haven't been back to PAX East, sadly, so I gotta make my way back up north.
yeah. Yeah. This year was rough just because it was in February, but we squeaked it in just before everything started
Yeah.
shutting down.
Yeah.
So can't complain about that. Yeah, but it was chilly. That's for sure. All
fine.
right. Yeah. Actually, it was pretty good because the lines weren't too bad to get into the
No, they
building.
weren't. Yeah.
So
Always
yeah.
love that. I hate
Yeah.
line con. I can't do it.
I know. I'm hoping that Turtles and Chill is still in the audience in the chat, because I'm going to ask their question. So Turtles and Chill wants to know, are there any tips for a complete noob who has never been involved in a D&D session before? I love fantasy type things. I've played WoW for 15 years.
Oh,
So
Okay.
Wow.
Me
Okay.
too, my friend. Me too.
Since
I was going to say,
recently
Decider,
started-
you're super new. So
Yeah, I recently started. The best way to get into it is to see if any of your friends play. And, once you start talking about it, you'd be surprised how many of your friends actually already play and have
Mhm.
just never spoken about it.
Right.
And, see if they might be willing to have you into a game, or, just start with something with you, talk to you about it. That's get friends check. That's step 1. Shit.
I mean, my best advice is try different. If your first session doesn't succeed, try again. I think I played like 3 different sessions that dropped before I actually played like a D&D session that stuck. And so if I had gone by my first experiences with D&D, I wouldn't have continued it, because the first couple of games I was in kind of were very... They didn't do a good job of telling me. It was like when we were talking earlier, like, what do you do? And I'm like, what can I do? You know, they didn't do a good job introducing the new guy. So every game is going to be completely different depending on who you play with. Not just DMs, but
players
party members too. Every game's going to be different. So if you try to start a game and it falls flat and you don't think you enjoy it, try again, because they're all going to be massively different.
That's a great point.
And because we were just talking about how wonderful this tabletop community is, I am sure you can reach out to so many different tabletop communities and podcasts and people that might be able to squeak in, you know, like, hey, you know, we can do a one-shot for you. I mean, because let me tell you, the number of people that have been reaching out to Discount Dungeons to do crossovers and one-shots and things like that. So if you're a brand new player and you're wanting to get into D&D, but you don't know how, join streams like this and make connections and ask people, hey, do you have, you know, a one-shot or room for a guest player? And try different people and different DMs. One of them is gonna stick. Throw that pasta at that wall.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna sound cliche, but I mean, not for me at least. Number one, it's be yourself, because if you try to be somebody that you're not gonna fit in with the right group. I mean, also backpacking off that is be patient, because it might take you. I've played at tables where, you know, they didn't vibe with the style that I DM'd in, and I've played at tables where I didn't vibe with the other styles that the players had for me, and that's not a bad thing, because this game is so open that everybody can play the game a million different ways, and none of them is wrong. But it might not just be for you. So I'd say be super patient. You might have to go through a table or two before you find a DM that really, you know, gives you your time in the spotlight, or you might have to go through a couple tables before you find players that you can build real friendships with, because in my opinion, that's where the game really, really thrives, is when you can build serious friendships during the game, because it really helps with RP. It really, really helps with RP. So that would be my cliche advice of getting into something.
Be yourself as you play someone else.
There you go.
I think for me, getting to start playing with people that you really feel comfortable with, I think was huge for me, because I'm one of those people that I don't like to look stupid in front of other people. And so for me, when I first started playing, I was playing with a group of friends that I was legitimately comfortable with. Like, these were the people that had seen me in my pajamas with unbrushed hair. So I didn't care at that point how stupid I looked. You know, I didn't care about asking dumb questions and, you know, things like that. So those are the people I think that you want to find. Like, if you are concerned about, you know, well, I don't want to look stupid, or I want to make sure I understand everything before I get started, don't worry about it, because you're not going to understand everything before you get started.
Nope. Not a little bit.
You can read every book that's out there and you'll still have questions. So,
and find a table that knows that too. Like, if you find a table that's gonna sit there and flame you for not knowing things on your first session, that's not a table you want to be a part of with anyway. So it's like,
I like how all this advice is kind of tangentially connected, you know?
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say about don't be afraid, because when I first started playing TTRPGs, I was so overwhelmed by all the different types of games, because I started with Pathfinder, and I was overwhelmed with, there's a player's handbook, and there's a dungeon master handbook, and there's a monster manual, and there's like a ton of classes, and there's just all these subclasses, and there was so much information. But I started easy, you know, and I started with a basic class, and I just went from there. And like Luna, I played with friends that had seen me, you know, in my pajamas, and so I felt really comfortable. But even if you're not able to do that, I feel like just diving in and not being afraid and just knowing that it's a lifelong battle. And like we were all saying, we've all been playing for a long time. Well, most of us. But we all still have questions. We're always learning still. There's so much to learn, and just don't be afraid to get started.
Yeah.
Start right away, because the older you get, the more of your own inhibitions you have to fight.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So just dive right in when you're still comfortable being embarrassed. And, if you can find friends that have never played before but are also interested, that's a good way to start too, because then you're all bad at it.
Yeah.
And then you're figuring it
That's
out
right.
together. And that's okay, because you actually can't. The secret is you can't actually be bad at it.
No.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make bad decisions, which end up hilarious, by the way. Make bad decisions.
That's great Dungeons and Dragons, though. That's
That's pretty
Absolutely.
much it.
Honestly, though, what the for me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the ultimate end goal is if you're having fun, you're doing it right.
that is 100% correct in my opinion.
The only way to win D&D is if you're having fun. That's it. You win.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, I've started to notice, being like a first time DM who's maybe 4 or 5 sessions in now.
Yeah.
Some of the best times I've had is when absolutely nothing gets done on my storyboard.
Yep.
You guys have just been sitting there like having a blast, doing whatever, and like literally we've made no progress whatsoever, but everyone's laughing and having fun, and I'm loving it. So
The best time.
Yeah.
Those are some of my favorite sessions.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. The ones where you leave and like you're still laughing about dumb jokes that happened
Mhm.
for weeks, like the bookcase. I mean, like the bookcase is a thing now. So
bookcase will always be a thing now.
yeah, exactly. The other thing too that I was gonna say is if you try, like, let's say you try playing D&D and you're like, you know what, this just isn't the system for me. There are so many systems out
many.
there.
Yes.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Don't give up on tabletop just because you don't like the system.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
just keep looking. There's so many great ones out there. And
D&D, Pathfinder, GURPS,
There's
Fate.
so many different systems. I recently tried a brand new system and I was like, oh my God, I didn't think I'd like anything other than 5e. I was completely wrong. I had so much fun with this sort of monster of the week type system. It's so amazing. Like it's just, you have to try these things before, you know if it's for you or not. And that's the hardest part is like wanting to learn about them and then trying them and maybe it not hitting with you, but that shouldn't really.
And then you have to get over that learning curve of, I don't want to feel stupid.
Yeah.
right.
We played a round of Twilight Imperium, which Twilight Imperium is like risk and lasts like 12 hours. And everyone over the course of the game got really into their characters somehow. And that was like a gateway into role playing for some of those people. And it wasn't even a role playing game. It was just one guy was like a turtle empire and he got really, really into making turtle jokes. And then all of a sudden it was like a whole new thing.
Turtles and chill.
Right.
Chill.
I play
that
turtle
question.
I'm gonna just shout out Turtles and Chill for a minute because everybody knows how obsessed I am with their stream. They're a 24-hour, literally a Turtles and Chill stream. They have a stream where they just stream their fish tank with their 2 turtles. They just got a 3rd turtle. His name is Skittles. And they have 2 turtles and 3 koi and a pleco. And they are so much fun. I leave them on all day while I work because it's just really nice background. So I watch the fish and the turtles and then I listen to the chill music and it's great. We have a ton of fun. So
that's amazing.
It's a great
It's
community.
magical.
it's a really great community. Yeah, it's super fun. So yeah, I want to give a shout out to them. Everybody that knows me now knows how obsessed I am with that channel. I'm like, I'm just hanging out watching Turtles and Chill. What are you doing?
I definitely understand the lore of that. I mean, I used to work at a pet store for 10 years. So, and I worked in the fish department. So I used to just sit there and watch it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's relaxing.
It is. So yeah, they've got a great setup. So yeah, if you're ever looking for something just to have on, chill out to, Turtles and Chill, man. Go ahead, go check them out.
Gotta check them out now. That's content right there.
Yeah, get them before they get too big.
Turtles and Chill. Your check is in the mail. Thank you.
Excellent.
How many coins does that get me, Turtles and Chill?
It's the only way this channel stays alive. So thank you.
Amazing.
Thanks to subscribers like you.
Yeah.
There's my PBS imitation for the night. Yeah. So yes, definitely, and jump into some discords too, like different Discord communities. There's always people that are new that are looking to get started. I'm sure that any of the ones that you jump into, you could probably find a DM that would be willing to take on a group of people who want to learn how to play. And this is a great time to do it because there's so many people that are looking for things to do. So
now's the time to start a new hobby.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see. I'm going to skip a few questions because this one's kind of related. Symphonic 497 wants to know, on the opposite side of the spectrum, for the more seasoned players, what is your favorite multi-class combination and why is it rogue plus warlock?
That's actually my DM in one of my games at home. So shout out to him. He loves that combination because he never got to play it, and he reminds me all the time because I killed his rogue before he got a chance to multi-class.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry, Kai. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's funny. But for the more seasoned players, is there anything that you particularly like, or?
The thing that I miss from that I don't think 5e has like really in earnest, and I was talking with Monsters in Multiclass about this the other day on Twitter. Shout out Monsters in Multiclass, great show.
It is.
I think 5e doesn't quite have a true magus yet, which is a direct hybrid of a fighter and a sorcerer, where the fighter is actually able to channel spells through their attacks or through other means. They've got the Eldritch Knight, which is close, but it's not, you can't quite accidentally fireball yourself with it. But anything that lets me combine arcane magic with martial combat, I'm gonna get hooked on basically immediately, because that is just it's just a wealth of opportunity, and they're usually too fun and really stylish to play because you can do all sorts of crazy crap in combat with them if you can come up with some creative solutions. So that's usually my go-to, like fighter mages.
I have actually never multi-class before. I know everybody just yeah, I get the gasp every time I say it. It's funny. So I've been DMing for the last 4.5 years, so I don't really get a lot of chances to play a lot of characters. I've only ever played 2 serious characters in my life. One was the Tiefling, one was the Turtle that I'm currently playing. And I've kept them pure, their class 100% of the way. And I just recently started taking feats because I usually only went for ability score improvements. I know everybody's gonna go crazy about the way I play the game, but yeah, I don't usually multi-class. I like hoping that I'm gonna get to 20 and hoping that I'll be able to capitalize on some of the very, very broken spells if you go 20 levels of the same thing over and over and over again. So yeah, I'd say none.
Oh yeah.
Payoff, yeah.
The payoff.
So I've not really obviously played enough to get to the point where I can multi-class too much, which is funny actually. I guess you can say the character I play on Sunday nights has multi-class because he's level 1 fighter, level 4 cleric. Just enough fighter to be able to hold a tower shield. That's all I need.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But fighter dip is great.
Yeah, so just that one little point. It's
Star Boy says you're a level 5 drunk.
Cheers.
Salud.
But in a lot of video games and stuff, what I try to go for is a mix between a sword and shield type of character with heavy armor and mage spells. So it's like a battle mage. Someone who can still stand his ground and toe to toe, but he prefers to be at a range just fireballing you.
I tend
kind of
to
like that mix.
I mean, not specifically D&D, but in games in general. I like to be the tankiest tank that ever tanked. I want to be the cockroach. Okay, I want to be the why won't you die? So I want all my feats and all my bonuses and all that are going to go towards defense and HP. So if I had to say what are my favorite multi-classes, it's anything that would give me more defense and more HP.
Nice.
So
Nice.
so sometimes I'll take a dip into paladin or cleric because it's always good to be able to heal. You know, why won't you die? Because I just did lay on hand.
Yeah.
You know, and stuff like that. So, but
I had a quick question for Decider. Decider, can your mage fighter and my fighter mage be bitter rivals forever?
Absolutely, they can.
there we go.
I'm
Starts
I'm
today.
smelling a spin-off show, but I don't know what the name is, but I'm smelling a
Right.
spin-off show.
There can only be one.
It's called Highlander.
Love it.
Manda, what about you? Do you have any that you've multi-classed in the past that you really like, or?
Trying to remember, I had a 3.5 edition character, and I started out as fighter, and I'm trying to remember what I multi-classed with. I ended up not being able to complete the campaign, but I was a samurai, and there was something that I had to multi-class with in order to get like a double-handed weapon feat, but I can't remember what it is. But that's the only time that I ever multi-classed or did any kind of combination. I've been a part of a lot of groups that we all talked about our classes beforehand, so the group was very like kind of even, and there wasn't too much of a need, I guess.
Right.
But I tend to want to stick a little bit more just to, when I get into it with like a certain type of class, I really just want to like stick with that. And I really want to like flush that out and do something great with that.
Me too.
I'm open to multi-classing though. I definitely, the more campaigns I do, the more experience I get, I want to kind of delve into that.
Yeah, I agree. I usually stick down the one path, but I would be interested in doing more multi-classing because I haven't really done much multi-classing at all. I don't think I have, because I've either DM'd or played a character or system where multi-classing just wasn't in the direction that we were going into. So yeah, I haven't actually multi-classed either. So, you know, hey, Matt, woo.
Yeah, I guess I'm not alone on this path of righteousness.
I feel like if you played a lot of 3.5, then you had to multi-class, because 3.5 was punishingly complex with multi-classing, and that was the best way to get ahead unless you were a full level wizard. And Amanda, I'm trying to figure out what your build was, because 3.5, I spent 12 years playing 3.5, so like...
I wish I could remember. It was like 7 years ago. It was one of the first times that I played D&D, and I can't...
I feel like it was Ijutsu Master for the die attack, the cut the world build.
Might have been. Yeah.
Samurai sounds so fun, though.
Just tap that encyclopedic knowledge.
I don't know if you saw the trigonometry going on my screen while she was talking, or if you were looking at the other faces, but I was like seriously thinking, I was like, wait a second, that sounds like the Ijutsu Master, which is if you build it just right, can get more damage than any other class combination in 3.5.
Wow.
That's by like, because it just keeps like stacking crits, but that's 3.5 was ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to throw out another question. This one is from IP a lot. I've been looking to get into streaming, especially playing D&D. I know not everybody streams. Some of you do podcasts, but either way, that's fine. I'm in several Discords with LFG channels. How did all of you initially get into streaming D&D?
So I guess I'll start, because I kind of dipped into this earlier, where I was talking about how Discount Dungeons was originally just a one shot, you know. So I just met all these people. It was a new group for me because I had just moved across the country and stuff, and so it was going to be my first time playing with them, you know? And so we were going to do a one shot. And I believe it was I think it was DM Chris, because we have two Chris's in our group. So we have, you know, DM Chris. That pitched us doing a podcast. And that's literally all it took to start, was just kind of like, hey, why don't we do a podcast? You know, because we were all, well, not all of us, but most of us were fans of Critical Role or knew of Critical Role. And so, so it just started with that, like, hey, let's do this thing. And a lot of like people started kind of researching this and that. So between all of us, we just kind of started researching different things, and it synergized into that. It just kind of started with, hey, let's do the thing. And then we did the thing.
There you go.
So that's how I started.
And I can't really speak to the streaming aspect of it because we haven't dipped into that space yet. But with the podcasting element of it, I remember if you look at our stuff, we have up until episode 5, everything before that was like a year in the past because we started it and we were like, oh my God, this is so much fun. And then, I had grad school I had to go to. I work a full-time job. Evan has work and school that he goes to. So like it fell off a little bit. And then when COVID hit, we both kind of sat down and we're like, hey, we really miss doing this because him and we talk all the time. Like we will be in Discord calls with each other. We're messaging each other on Discord. We're just talking all the time because we really enjoy each other's company and we play together at the table. We were friends before we even touched on D&D. Him and I have really good back and forth because we do disagree on a lot of stuff, but we're both respectful. So we can have a discourse back and forth where it's funny, where we're still disagreeing on topics that have to do with, TTRPGs and D&D and nerd culture in general. And when COVID hit, both him and I were like, hey, like, do you just want to record again? And we were like, yeah, of course, let's just do it. So we did it. And it's a constant struggle because sometimes I don't want to record. Sometimes he doesn't record. So at the end of the day, it's really bad, but we just bully each other until we until we record. And then once we start getting in the groove of it, it's just so natural to us. It just came so natural. And at the end of the day, we love when we get viewers. We love when we get views. We love when the community supports us. But at the end of the day, if we had none of that, we just like talking to each other. And if people like listening to that and they think it's funny, then, we love that too. But that's kind of how we got into it. We were having these conversations already. We just decided to put a theme song on it and record.
Beautiful.
And for people I just gonna real quick, Dave. I just wanted to say I did just drop links for both the Verbal Components podcast and the Discount Dungeons podcast in chat. So if anybody wants to check those out or bookmark them so you can find them again, they are right there in chat.
Yeah, all I was gonna say is I remember when I got into it. It was about a year ago. Some loser named Mike who runs a channel called How I Nerd asked me if I wanted to be on a show or something. So I said, yeah, whatever. I mean, it's no big deal. And then, the rest is history. So,
right. I know it's kind of worked the same way for me too. It was, so for those of you who are not familiar with our channel, who are just visiting us for the first time tonight, Decider and I have been playing in a stream on Sunday nights on this channel for almost a year now. We just figured it out the other day. It's been almost a year since our first episode, like the end of May, isn't it? Is our 1 year anniversary?
It is May 26th, which is a Tuesday. So technically the 24th will be our anniversary.
Amazing.
So yeah.
Hey, that's gonna be the East Coast anniversary. That's one.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, Mike had put out he'd reached out to some of the people that he knew, like Decider and a couple other people, and then put out a casting call that I answered because Mike and I both are part of a page that is all about PAX East. So he had put out a casting call on that, and I was at this point in my life where I was trying to get back into playing D&D, and I was like, well, that could be a lot of fun, and I had just moved to a new place and was kind of settling into kind of what my new routine was. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like it would be fun. So I threw my hat in the ring and, we did a meetup, and, everybody was like, hey, remember when Luna used to be so nice and quiet and didn't talk to anybody?
I miss that, Luna.
Now she's a jerk, man.
Yeah,
But no, so we got started, and I think we were lucky because we were a group that we really hit it off pretty quickly right from the start. So it took us a few weeks to find our stride, but like any new group coming together for the first time. But that was how I got into it too.
I had before we started Lawful Great Adventures, I was actually on hiatus. I had gotten burned out from a campaign that I was doing a lot of really high prep stuff, and it just wore me the heck out. And then one of my former players approached me and said, dude, I am jonesing, and you really need to pick up the mantle again, or I'm not going to be able to get my D&D fix. And I said, okay, I've got some free time now. My situation has changed. I can probably do this. And I've got this idea about a travel story about 4 friends just sort of trying to get their way back home, sort of like a Odyssey kind of story, but a little bit more low key. And and I said, but on one condition, I've been picking up these tabletop podcasts, and it actually sounds like a whole lot of fun. So if we're going to do this, we're going to record it and we're going to have a go. So we did. And so far, the response has actually been really astounding. I got my buddy who had the Jonesin. I had my friend Michael, who I play with. I've been playing with him for like 12 years. I got my former DM who DM'd that wizard that I keep talking about. And then we grabbed a total newbie. She had never played a game before in her life. And we put a microphone in front of her face and said, you're going to learn how to play Pathfinder, which is like the most complex of the D20s.
I love it.
She's been doing great. She's doing a great job.
Just throw her in the deep end.
We seriously threw her to the wolves, and she didn't even flinch. So impressed.
Oh, we absolutely did that with 2 of our players too. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
It's the best. I swear, anytime I launch a big campaign, I try to get a totally fresh player, because first of all, I want to pass on what
the legacy.
Yeah. But then also, like, it's just, I want to get that new perspective, because I can play with the same people for years and years and years, but I really want something fresh. But anyway, we had a go of it, and it turned out really good. There was a lot of chemistry at the table, and we all felt really good about the recordings, and we were all having a really good time. So we just kept going and going and going. That we recorded our first episode in October. We launched in February, and we've been going since then, and it's been a lot of fun. So if you're thinking of dipping your toe in, research 2 things. Listen to a couple of actual plays or streams that you really like, and try to figure out how they do it, and then research the right sound and video equipment to get it right the first time. And then you'll be in good shape. And honestly, before you launch or even record your story episodes or whatever, do a couple of one-shots with your equipment, just so you can get used to the process of editing, what kind of table rules you need in order to keep the sound good, and that kind of thing. But honestly, this community is impossibly nice.
Yeah, insanely nice.
Yeah, if you have a go and you hop on like Twitter or wherever the people are, and you say, hey, we're launching a thing, come listen to us, people will just come listen to you just to see what you're about, and they'll probably dig it, because it's a really positive community. That was my like day one takeaway, is like, holy crap, this is really great.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of you, like, all that, like, doing that research will help, but at the end of the day, it just boils down to, just do it, because everybody's story right now is just saying, hey, someone approached me and said, you want to do the thing, and then we did the thing.
That's how it works.
The research and learning that stuff will just make it easier with the growing pains, because in Discount Dungeons, we just jumped into it, and the first couple of episodes are raw as we learned, the audio, sound, and how we wanted to do our editing. And so the research that Ben was saying is like not necessary, but it'll make things easier.
Yeah.
But if you're just like, how do I do this? Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it and learn by doing. So those are 2 things that you can do too.
Know Your Role had a really great poll where they asked, like, how many episodes will you listen to of an actual play or a stream before, while you're waiting for people to get their bearings, and the answer was like 3 to 5. So if your early stuff is a little rough, that's like, okay. And also, I had like a ton of rhymes in there, so that's kind of awkward.
I was digging it. You had me on the hook. You had me on a hook. I was like,
Right?
keep going.
Yeah.
That was like you're freestyling.
And I do just want to note for chat too, I did put the link for Lawful Great Adventures podcast in chat as well, so you can check them out as well.
If the early episodes aren't to your liking, I am remastering them, so come back in a month.
You can listen to the chips.
Yeah,
you can go listen to the meat chips in the first episode.
I saw that.
Crunch,
in my brand.
Crunch.
We literally just did that too.
Yep. I know. I just saw our video got all messed up. So,
but we're
back. We're still here. I promise. Just in time for us to have to wrap up. So I know it's been another hour already.
It's been another hour.
Fast.
I know it's super fast. So I want to thank you all for taking time out of your night to come and hang out tonight. This was a lot of fun. It was a great conversation. We had some really great questions come in from chat tonight. So thank you to chat for being here and asking some really great some really thought-provoking questions and things like that. Definitely come back next week. Check us out again. We'll have another group of people. Sometimes we get people coming back again. So
get some regulars on popular request.
Well, nobody's been a popular request yet. So
I want to be the first one. So all of you in the chat be like, yo, that Vero guy is really cool. You should bring him back. That way I can start, the adventures of Vero.
Absolutely.
Slowly insert yourself into How I Nerds regular rotation. And
yes. Yeah, that's all you got to do. And feel free, you guys and in chat too, if you haven't joined our Discord yet, feel free to jump into our Discord. Even if you're brand new to playing TTRPGs, we have places people throw up questions all the time. Hey, I'm brand new and I have a question about blah, blah, blah. Yep. People will jump right in and give you their 2 cents or where to find it or, things like that. We've got a lot of, we've got a really great community. There's a lot of great communities out there, as we all keep saying. So I'm just going to do one more quick once around, just remind everybody who you are and where we can find you. And we'll go from there. So I'm going to go reverse order from last time. So Matt, if you would like to.
Oh, goodness. First of all, thank you all for the amazing conversation. You guys have been super sweet. Thank you guys for having me on. Thank you, How I Nerd, for having me on. Thank you, Luna, for inviting us on, first of all. Secondly, you can find us at Twitter is our only social right now. You can find us at Podcast VC on Twitter. You can find us usually at Anchor, but we're on all the major podcasting networks. Just look up Verbal Components. You guys can come listen to our stuff there. We put out an episode every week. Or we try our best. We've been pretty good the last 6 weeks to put out an episode every week. So if you guys like us, you like me, it's Evan and I, we post an episode every week. And other than that, I think that's it. Thank you guys for having me on, by the way. This was super fun.
Definitely. This was a great time. I'm glad you were able to be here. Ben.
Hey, I'm Benjamin. I am the Dungeon Master for Lawful Great Adventures. That's at great_lawful on Twitter. That's pretty much our primary social media account. We are a Pathfinder First Edition actual play podcast. The tone of the podcast is heavy narrative, character driven, and a lot of world building and lore. So if you are looking for a little bit of a different experience in your podcasting, check us out. Give us a look and shout us out on Twitter at great_lawful, because I literally will not stop talking about TTRPG stuff if people keep talking to me about it. So it's great. It's one of my favorite things.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for jumping in at such a last minute notice. And
thank you.
This was thrilling. My heart has been palpitating the entire time.
It's come full circle. You finally got your
I got my moment. I did.
You got your moment. MandaManda.
Hi, I'm MandaManda. Join us on Wednesday nights here on How I Nerd. And if you like such riveting role playing as characters walking away from burning bookcases fallen on children, then you will love our Wednesday night show at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's where you can find me. Also, my socials are in How I Nerd Info. So if you want to add me on Instagram, and I'm not sure if my Twitter's on there, but I don't really use Twitter. So
Yeah, I think it's just your Instagram that's on there. So
I looked at your Twitter the other day and it was just full of Animal Crossing stuff.
That's the only platform that Nintendo, other than Facebook, but I don't have Facebook either. So it's the only platform that it lets me upload my Animal Crossing pictures. So if you like Animal Crossing pictures, you can follow me on Twitter. But other than that, my Instagram is posted in the How I Nerd Info down below. And come check out our show on Wednesday night. It's a lot of fun. Tabletop Tavern 2.
yes. Vero.
Moi.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we're Discount Dungeons. You can Twitter is our main thing. We also have a Patreon. If you want to check that out, that is where we'll post the episodes a full 24 hours early. If you want to be like, instant access. And I think one of our big draws is we have some artists, and so the Patreon is where you can find all the art. So Discount Dungeons on Twitter, Patreon, Ko-fi, all those. We're an actual play 5th edition game that has very our DM tries to do a very grimdark, serious story, but he got all his players on discount, so we'll see what happens. I'm Vero, and I hope you guys give Discount Dungeons a try. Thank you so much for having me on here. I was nervous because I'm not knee deep in the community, but everybody's been super wonderful. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on and joining us. And Decider.
Yes. So yeah, I'm Decider12. You can catch me here on the How I Nerd channel on Sunday nights as a player, Wednesday nights as a GM. On my own channel as someone who is bad at video games. And I just want to answer 2 questions I saw real quick. One from Scoozy: favorite non-traditional weapon or offensive maneuver? For all you Star Trek fans, the Picard maneuver. And then Remove Disc asked, and I want to answer this to scare 2 of my players in the group here tonight. Many GMs refuse to kill players. Will you? Yes.
Oh, I absolutely will.
Oh, and he's staring directly into our souls, Amanda. And I am Luna. I am here on the How I Nerd channel. You can catch me here 3 days a week. You can catch me on Sunday nights at Tabletop Tavern at 8 p.m. Eastern on Sunday with Decider12. You can catch our show Neural Nexus Zero, which we actually really didn't talk about at all tonight, but that is our 1980s cyberpunk campaign played in the Savage Worlds rule set. It is a very cool campaign. So if you're into cyberpunk at all, I highly recommend it. They play at 9 p.m. Eastern. It's a really great show with a really awesome cast. Then Tuesday nights we take a break so we can all like breathe and sleep and eat and stuff like that. And then on Wednesdays we've got Tabletop Tavern 2. That is 8, like Decider said, that's at 8 p.m. Eastern right here. And that is another Pathfinder campaign. And then Thursday nights we have Tales from the Tavern, where we hang out with a bunch of really cool people and we sit around and we talk about TTRPGs and all things nerdy. So we are busy folks here over on How I Nerd. And the other thing that we have as part of the How I Nerd channel is we have started a Twitch stream team. So if any of you are TTRPG streamers, we have a stream team called Storytellers Union that is meant for people who stream TTRPG content. And the idea is that it's to help grow the community, support each other, build each other up, and give each other feedback and advice and help and whatever else may be needed. So if you're interested at all in that, feel free to hit us up and we can get you some information about that as well. So thank you again, everybody, for coming out tonight. We had a really great time, and I hope to catch you all around the interwebs very soon. And have a great night.
Peace.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Are we clear yet?
I don't know.